মানব শুরু করে দাও।
Yes, yes. Sir, Misty Decker, he's the program manager of IBM. She is from New York. Already has joined the webinar. So we are waiting for you, sir. And
ওকে,
Shoma sir, please.
Yes,
Sir.
okay. So, good evening, viewers, and good evening to all the respected panelists, Honorable Vice Chancellor and Mr. Decker and Professor Manush Ghosh. Uh, today, very good evening, and we are today here to go through, I think, very encouraging and enlightening sessions of two speakers. Misty Decker will be the first one, and Jaideep Banerjee will be joining late. And but before, actually, from IBM. So IBM, all of you know, as we also know, that IBM is a very actually historical organization in the field of computers, and computers came along with IBM itself. And from that day onwards till today, IBM has tremendous contribution in the field of computation and and computers especially, and now they are actually coming up with a lot of programs, not only for the developed world but also for India, and a lot of our students are participating in it. And today we have this master the mainframe, this program. Actually, there's actually how IBM is offering I think extraordinary opportunities for the students, and many of our faculty members are of Makaut, as well as our affiliated colleges, especially RCC-IIT. So this is the program jointly with RCC-IIT. Initiative has been taken from RCC Institute of Information Technology, which is also an affiliated institution of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology. And today we have with us our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Shoikat Moitro. And I would now request Professor Moitro to inaugurate the program and give his inaugural address. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Dasgupta. It's great that you have already mentioned these contributions of IBM in technical world, as well as for imparting, this technical educations, supporting these technical educations in a big way worldwide. Now we are happy that amongst us, Misty Decker, so she is present as a program manager from IBM Master the Mainframe. And this is one of the very important, this area in information technology, computational science programs, and our students announced they need to have a good expertise in this particular area to be a very successful professional in this field. IBM has taken initiative to reach out to our learning community, and that is a great sign that we want to take this advantage in the best possible manner, having this strategic future relationship with IBM. And we want to generate, because our mandate is to produce a large numbers of technically competent professionals to take up the challenges of the IT enabled areas, this development or formulations of IT solutions for all these these aspects in our the different spheres of life, be it administration, be it education, and be it social science, everywhere. These applications of information technology will be required, and for that we need to have a large numbers of professionals for handling that, and for that we need to have a strategic, this alliance partnership and support from organization like IBM. So this is a good initiation. I believe that out of this exercise today, we are just initiating the process to take us, forward in a new future, towards a new future. And of all our learning community who are present over here, they will be immensely benefited and inspired, and will be enthused for this mastering this area in a formidable manner. And my thanks to Mr. Manush Ghosh for taking this initiative. And again, I would like to express my sincerest thanks to this resource person, Mr. Decker, for kindly consenting to remain present amongst us, and for this inspiring, motivating, and for the development of knowledge and understandings among our learning community. I wish all the learners are very, very effective learnings, engaging learnings, and I believe that we will have these types of programs in near future in a structured manners, and for that, university will take all sorts of steps from our, the School of Computational Science and other schools as well. Dr. Dasgupta is here. He is very, this taking a very, this important role in initiating different types of programs, and for the benefit of our learning community, we will definitely work on it. How to take it forward further in a structured manner, if with in association or with the support from IBM. So let us start these programs, and I. I now declare this program as open. I am requesting Mr. Manoj Ghosh to take the program forward. Thank you.
So I would, now we have 546 participants. It's very
Very good.
exciting. And
That's
now I will request Mr. Manoj Ghosh to introduce our speaker, Mr. Decker, very briefly, and then we can listen to her and get enlightened.
Thank you, sir. So let me introduce ma'am, Mr. Ma'am. So today we are here to have an webinar on just and I am searching for yes, yes. Hmm. Uh, for master the mainframe contest. That is the one of the biggest contest in the world, where students can explore their competencies, as well as uh, it opens up the job opportunities to the Fortune 500 companies also. So Misty Decker finds herself in exactly that position as a program manager of the Master the Mainframe contest. Since 1991, Misty has held a variety of technical, managerial, and project management roles at IBM, always eager to learn new things and attack new challenges. She has been a ZOS release manager, a development manager for IBM Z for firmware, and led the IBM Z customer advocate program. A passion for students and education led her to join university alliances, creating collaborative research opportunity between IBM and universities around the world, including weather monitoring, radio telescopes, and medical records research. In the IBM Z academic initiative program, she worked with hundreds of schools to add technologies to the curriculum IBM clients needed most, and ensuring students were connected to job opportunities. She currently manages the Master the Mainframe contest, known worldwide for broadening students' perspective of the range of computing and and providing them the credential they need to top enterprise job opportunities. She has presented hundreds of times to high schools, universities, and academic conferences, becoming known for her ability to explain complex technical concepts in ways that anyone can understand. Her dedication to every student future. I would like to thank Misty for coming over here, and I would definitely I will just hand over the session to our Dasgupta sir, so that he can steer this webinar in a way that will be beneficial for both.
Okay, so without wasting time, I would request Ma'am Misty Decker to
Hello,
take
Professor
up the
Dasgupta.
session and I mean enlighten us with our speech. Please.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for the very kind introduction. I appreciate it. You are all very warm and welcoming, and quite flattering. So I'm pleased. Thank you. I'm delighted to speak to all of you today about a topic that I think is very important and not as well known. Um, the mainframe is a platform that you use all of the time, but you just don't know it. So I want to give you a chance to learn about it. But you did say in the introduction that the reason I took this job is a passion for students, and it's a passion for your future success and the opportunities that the mainframe provides for you. And I'm joined in that passion by esteemed people like Manash Ghosh, who put so much effort into bringing these opportunities to you. So I want to thank him for all of your partnership over these years in this program. You've been a
I think the link has a
spend a fair
problem.
amount of my time connecting with students. I'm sorry?
No, it's
Yes?
okay. Okay. Please.
Okay. So
So
I
actually, there are some problem of the link, I believe, for just for a few seconds. That was anyway. Please.
say
I
that
think
I care deeply about student success, and I answer questions on LinkedIn or on Twitter. And you are always welcome to connect with me and to contact me. Um, my messages are always open for you all as students. I want to make sure that you are successful. So, this is, you can find me on LinkedIn as Misty Decker. There's not that many Misty Deckers in the world. And you can find me on Twitter at Let's talk a little bit about a variety of careers that we're hearing students are interested in: hybrid cloud, analytics, blockchain, um, insurtech, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. You're probably familiar with some of these terms. What you may not realize is that you can do all of those things in a large scale way in enterprise computing, and all of those things use the mainframe underneath. So, when we talk about a career in mainframe technology, we are not talking about instead of analytics. We are talking about analytics using the platform that has 80% of the world's data. So, this is a huge opportunity for you to combine the things that you're interested in with this amazing technology that's really unique in the world. So, last year we commissioned a survey with Forrester Research to determine the difference between mainframe careers and other IT careers. And the results were very interesting and affirmed what we had been hearing anecdotally. Good salary. So, mainframe careers tend to pay 20% more. So it's an opportunity for a really good salary. Students are looking for a good work-life balance, a way of being able to have a good job, but also spend time with your friends and your family. Um, Making a social impact, doing something that really matters in the world, working on some things that align with your interest in technology, whether it's analytics or hardware, and job security and the ability to move around to different roles. These are the things that we heard are important to you. So, what do people in enterprise careers say about their real jobs? Well, first of all, they found that enterprise computing roles have a much better work life balance than other IT computing roles. And they feel like they have much more opportunity to work with leading edge technologies, and that they have the ability to contribute to open source or community groups more than other IT jobs. This platform is the core of these businesses. And so you're in the middle, you're in the heart of an organization when you work with this technology. These salaries are United States based, but we have confirming data that it is the similar in other countries, that enterprise computing roles pay significantly more than other IT roles. And job stability, 65% of people in enterprise computing still work with enterprise computing since they started. So you get much higher stability. So let's talk about, just for a perspective of scale, what happens in a second. In 1 second, there's about 5,700 tweets, Tinder, 18,000 Tinder swipes, over 20,000 photos shared on Instagram, 63,000 Google searches. So this gives you a perspective of scale, that there's a lot more Google searches than there are tweets. But in a single second, transactions running through one of our software platforms that manages transactions, and a transaction could be updating your bank account, it could be transferring money, it could be making a hotel reservation. Transactions running through the mainframe is 1 million. So it dwarfs all of these other things that you see all the time. But what's happening on the back end in terms of transactions and data being moved around, that is much bigger part of this world and this economy than any of these other things that you see. So every day there are 30 billion transactions. 400 million of those are retail transactions. Just hotel reservations alone is 1 million before the pandemic, obviously. Annually, right? 87% of all credit card transactions, almost all ATM transactions, 29 billion, 90% of all airline reservations. These companies rely on the mainframe. So who are these companies? 92 of the top 100 banks are using the mainframe to run their banks, coming out to 30 billion business transactions per day. 10 out of 10 of the world's top insurers, 23 of the top 25 US retailers, 80% of that world's corporate data resides or originates on the mainframe. I like to think of it as the locked box that stores the data. And 23 out of 25 of the world's airlines, 91% of CIOs said new customer facing apps. So you look at your phone and you think your phone is what's happening, but it's not. What's happening is in the back end. All right, so the data is being managed and processed, and your experience is being built on the back end, which is run by the mainframe in most cases. One of the things I hear is the mainframe is expensive. But if you think about this, 68% of all production workloads in the world are running on a mainframe, but it accounts for only 6% of the IT spend. Of how much money is spent, only 6% of that IT money is spent running 68% of the workloads. It is extremely efficient. That is what it is there for. It was built originally for transaction processing. So that is managing the money, updating records. It's also very, very powerful for data serving. So sending data to an app on a mobile phone. So as I said before, it's like a storage, it's a locked box, holding all of that data and sending it back and forth. So the reason it's so good at that is its unique hardware structure. The mainframe is the only platform in the world where every single processor, right, the central processor that does all of the calculations, has a dedicated coprocessor that does nothing but move data back and forth. It does nothing but manage that I/O, that input output, so that the processor is never waiting for data. It is always kept busy. There is no downtime, and it's very, very fast. Um, the mainframe is actually famous for being the very first mixed workloads machine. So it is meant for handling a wide variety of operations. So it does do data serving, it does do um, transaction processing, it does machine learning, it does all of those things in a variety of data environments. Operational efficiency. This machine is so efficient. Customers regularly run it at 99% utilization. And what that means is on an x86 server, you need to leave what's known as headroom, a little space of processing power that you are not using, so that when things get busy and the machine needs to do a little extra, there's room for it. But in the mainframe, what we've done is we've put all of those processors and our unique architecture into a single box so that it can operate as a single, very, very, very large machine, or it can operate as many much smaller machines virtually. And because it's all inside one box, it is able to move those resources around. When one particular image needs a little extra processing power, it can borrow that from another image. And what that means is you can run at 99% utilization and always be able to handle the most important workloads and never see a slowdown on the things that matter. Other processors are not able to handle that because they're simply not big enough. So x86 is often put together in what's known as distributed computing. And when you do that, you can build up enough processing power to be the equivalent of a single mainframe. However, you have a lot of wasted capacity because every one of those hundreds of servers needs to leave that headroom. Whereas when you put that workload into a mainframe, you are able to take advantage of all of that space and put it to work. It is the most secure hardware available, bar none, from the hardware up. So it is in the hardware architecture itself that makes it inherently more securable than any other platform. It has something called authorized program facility. And what that means is nothing can run certain instructions on this machine unless you explicitly authorize that workload. This is one of the reasons why x86 became so popular, even though the mainframe has been around longer, because it's easier to develop applications on an x86 because you don't need to worry about having it um, you don't need to worry about having it authorized. However, what that means is it's easier for a hacker to create an exploit and deploy that exploit and take advantage of that server and steal data and information. In the mainframe, the security is baked in and you have to authorize applications in order for them to run. So it is much more securable. There's a funny story. I saw a report, it comes out annually, that rates hardware platforms, servers, based on their security. And this report said in the very first paragraph, the IBM Z mainframe is, of course, number one. Everybody knows it's number one. there's no point talking about it. Let's spend the rest of this article trying to figure out why we chose this platform for number 2. So it is so obvious to those people in the industry that this is the most secure platform that they don't even bother to write about it anymore. It is just so known and understood. Now we've even created a lot of new technologies in the latest releases of the mainframe that make it even more secureable. And those are because of, at the hardware level, we have added a coprocessor to go with every single processor and every single I/O coprocessor. There is now another coprocessor for every single processor that does nothing but encryption. So you have a processor, the brain, trying to do the calculations. It's getting its data super, super fast. And that data can be encrypted every time it receives data and sends data out automatically without taking any time from the processor and without creating any bottlenecks. Most other servers will have 1 or 2 encryption cards, encryption processors for 20 processors. And so they have to share. And so you have to pick and choose what you can encrypt. But with the mainframe and the latest mainframes, we can encrypt 100% of the data 100% of the time, and it's fast. You barely notice that all of that data is being encrypted. Because of that fundamental hardware underneath, we've been able to create some really interesting things at the software level. And one of those is called Secure Service Container. In a secure service container, we have created, if you know, containers is a software layer concept where you have the operating system and all the applications together in a package so that you can move that package around between servers and it gives you flexibility. We have created a container such that it is encrypted. And you can move that encrypted container around so that the systems administrator can manage that environment, but they are not able to see what's inside it. And I like to call this the no Edward Snowden effect. Edward Snowden was able to steal secrets because he was a systems administrator. He was managing that environment, but he did not have a need to see the data that he was moving around. When he noticed the data and he had concerns about it, he stole that data and made it public. But what you need to know is this same situation exists today every time you use a public cloud. In that public cloud, you think your data is encrypted and protected, but it is only encrypted and protected from people that do not work for Amazon or Google or Microsoft. Those companies have to be able to manage your data and move it around. So that data is, you're trusting that company to not look at that data. And I would trust the company, but the individual employees, you know, there could be occasionally one employee that is selling data, right? So with Secure Service Container, we're able to create a public cloud that even IBM is not able to see. We cannot see the data if it is stored in what we call hyper protect services, is built on top of a mainframe and secure service containers. So this platform is much, much more secure than any other platform on the planet, and that hardware enables some really amazing things that we can do at the software level. The other reason people are very interested in the mainframe is because of its reliability, availability, and resiliency. And what I mean by that is it can never go down. If you're running a bank and this server is the central of everything that you do, if it goes down, that is a big issue for your business. Air traffic control, airlines run with a mainframe. If that goes down, then airlines will have struggles, and air traffic control will struggle to land planes. This is absolutely essential. And if I remind you of the reactions that people that work with this technology, they feel like they're working on something important, essential, and has impact on the world. And that's why when you have something that really needs to happen and cannot handle any glitch, you know, a YouTube video going down is frustrating, but it isn't going to cause major financial troubles for people. Every ATM in a country going down for your bank is a major issue for the country and for the people. So this platform is built to be reliable, always doing what it needs to do, available, it never goes down, and resilient. When there is an issue, it's able to recover. And one of the things that's really interesting um, is that you can not only repair it while it's running, you don't need to take it down, but you can upgrade it to the next hardware model. That's right. You can keep this frame and upgrade it to the new machine without stopping the business. And that is because it is built with so much redundancy in here. So there's not one power supply, there are two power supplies. So you can trade out the power supply and fix that while the machine is still running. There's many processors, and they are grouped together in what's known as a book. And you can pull the entire book out, and all of the work that has been running through that machine is routed through the remaining books. And then I slide in the new book of the new model machine, and the hardware recognizes, wait, this is the new model machine, and it knows what work to route to the new architecture chip, the new model, and what work needs to run on the old model. And so you can pull these books out one at a time and replace them one at a time. And when you're done, you have upgraded that to the new machine while you're still running the bank. So it goes down so infrequently. We have customers that have kept their old models and are still running them without interruption for 10 years. So these things are built to last. And there's a fun video if you want to see it. You can search IBM Z mainframe earthquake testing. We test these machines in humid environments. We have a chamber where we can test to make sure that they continue to run uninterrupted in damp environments, in hot temperatures, in cold temperatures, and yes, even in an earthquake. And we have had machines survive an earthquake. Actually, if you remember the earthquake in Japan that caused that terrible tsunami, there was a mainframe for a bank in Japan that fell over and continued to run transactions for the bank after it had fallen over in an earthquake. So they are very resilient. They are built to last. And the last thing I want to mention on this page is virtually limitless scale. So I mentioned already distributed computing, where you take multiple x86 servers and you string them together and you try to get them to act like they're one machine. We do that with the mainframe, only with a much, much bigger machine. And we actually invented that technology. We called it parallel sysplex. It came out 30 years ago, where we put multiple mainframes together, and they can be right next to each other or they can be around the world from each other, and they still operate as though they are one machine. And if one of those mainframes needs to be shut down for whatever reason, the other machines in that parallel sysplex will pick up the work and everything continues to operate uninterrupted. So this machine is the reason why the entire IBM Z mainframe ecosystem is able to do what it does, why it's able to support the scale and the speed and the encryption and the security. It's not just a question of software. It starts at the hardware layer. So enterprise computing is another way of thinking about computing. When you're learning to program in school, you're working on a laptop in most cases, right? And it's not a big deal when the issue of a problem says just reboot your computer, just restart your phone, just close the app and start over. That's not a big deal when you're dealing with a mobile app. But it is a big deal when you're talking about airplanes not being able to land and no one being able to get access to their money. So there are key characteristics that are absolutely essential, and it's a different way of thinking. I like to say that mainframers are a little bit paranoid. It is absolutely essential that they think about everything that could go wrong and make sure that it doesn't. So we're talking about reliability, where it always gives the right answer. The wrong answer in a mainframe space is a huge issue. You would be very upset if you transferred $500 into your bank account and the bank only reflected $50, right? That's a lot of money. So it has to be correct every single time. Availability, right? We're running an economy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It has to be available nonstop. Serviceability, things are going to go wrong, but you have to be able to fix it so that it can run immediately, and still continue to operate. Another interesting fact about a mainframe that you don't get with other servers is call home. It's a function inside the mainframe where we're constantly checking for things that could go wrong. And when there is an issue found, the server will call IBM and we will send a repairman to the business with a replacement part. Now, because of the redundancy, the machine has never gone down, and the customer often doesn't even know there's a problem. But we will replace that part before there's ever an issue, before there is ever a problem. Can you imagine someone showing up on your doorstep saying, your laptop screen is about to die and I'm going to replace it now? That's exactly what we do with the mainframe. Virtualization, right? We talked about how big this machine is and how you can divide that up into thousands of smaller server images. You can run thousands, I think 7,000 was the last number I saw, 7,000 Linux images on a single one of these refrigerator-sized boxes. So that makes it extremely efficient in terms of the data center. And clustering, putting them together so that you can grow for that scalability. These are concepts that are so important to know for enterprise computing, and the security, of course. So it's not just understanding this hardware and this software, it's also a mindset that is needed in this industry that is very different from other industries because it is essential. It cannot go down. So I want to stop here for a second and see if there's any questions in the chat. Let me see here. All right.
Yeah, there are a few questions. Actually, starting from a very simple one, why we need mainframe? Sattaji, Why we need that? Why mainframes are not simple and easy to use? Okay, so why
Okay.
mainframes are not so simple and easy to use?
Okay, so let me answer these. I see these questions now. So um, we need mainframes because the world needs technology. And there is never one answer to every problem, right? And so mainframe is not going to solve every technology problem. But what it does solve, it solves uniquely. So I would never say get rid of all x86, get rid of all distributed computing, get rid of all high performance computing. There is a need for all of that. And there is a need for mainframe. And the trick is to understand what is it that the mainframe does better than any other platform? And what is it that x86 does better than any other platform? One of the things the mainframe was not built for and is often better done on distributed x86 servers is video serving and game environments, online gaming. That's just not something it was tuned for, that it was built for, and we don't feel a need to do that because x86 does a great job of streaming YouTube videos. We don't need to do that with the mainframe. So don't think of this as mainframe instead of. It's choosing the right platform. Um, why are mainframes not simple and easy to use? Now this is an interesting question because um, there's many ways to access a mainframe. There's a lot of things I can answer on this. So all right, first we need to talk about the legacy promise that we have made in um, in mainframe. There are applications that were written 50 years ago. And yes, I said it, 50 years ago, before I was born. There are applications that do still today run on a mainframe. And we made that promise to our clients because they spend a lot of money building their applications, building their credit card processing application, building their customer reservation application. And we don't want to force them to rewrite that every time we put out new hardware with new security features. But that's not the case with your mobile phone, is it? Every time I upgrade to a new iOS, I have to download new versions of many of my applications because iOS does not have that promise. So all of those people that make applications, and I'm sure you've encountered that yourself, where the application that you used to love no longer runs on the new version of your Android or your Apple phone. And so you have to find something else. You have to give up. And that's because those application developers aren't able to keep up and they give up. But we made that promise from a mainframe point of view. So these old interfaces, these old applications still need to run, while at the same time, we are developing new and enabling new applications. New artificial intelligence needs to run at the same time that old legacy databases run. So this is part of the complexity of this platform, right? It is a mix of everything that has gone on before for 60 years. And this is why it's such an exciting place to be honest. We need students like you to come in and help, and I call it the bridge. Because companies do not want to rewrite all of their code just because. That's a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars to rewrite code to do the exact same thing it's always done, just in a different way, with instead of COBOL, which is the old programming language, let's rewrite it to use Java and do the exact same thing. That's a waste of time and money for a business. So what we really need in this industry is you, future innovators, to understand how to take those existing applications and modify them to make them better, and write new stuff, new applications using the new technology in a way that connects with the existing legacy technology. And that is a special skill, a very special talent. So I always encourage students to learn all of the new technology you can, but also learn the legacy technology, and you will be uniquely valuable in this world, right? You will be the translator, you will be the innovator. Now, as far as simple and easy to use, many of the people who are currently working with mainframes are more comfortable with those old school legacy interfaces. But there are other ways to work with the mainframe and to run stuff on the mainframe. And they're out there. It's just that's not what some of these people that you may be working with are used to. But the new Master the Mainframe actually does use um, the new interfaces. And so we are focusing on that this year in Master the Mainframe. So I think you're going to find using VS Code and using um, we're using Ansible, we're using VS Code, we're using open source in Master the Mainframe this year. So I think you will enjoy that. Right. So making it more appealing to users, and I think that's what I'm talking about, how there is this open source project that is doing that. So I think I answered that question. All right, so blockchain, I could do an entire hour on what blockchain is. The easiest way to understand it is a way of storing data and information so that it is encrypted to everyone except for the individual that has the need to see it. And the way I describe it, it is a block of information, and inside that block of information is the encryption key to unlock the block before it. So if you think about selling a car, I sell the car to Joydeep, and a block goes into the chain and it's encrypted, and Joydeep and I can see that information. Joydeep then sells the car to Minash, and that new transaction is a new block of information, and Minash and Joydeep can see that transaction. Minash can also see the transaction from me to Joydeep. So he can trace that information all the way back to the source. That, in essence, is what blockchain is. And the reason blockchain very often runs on the mainframe is because of those encryption capabilities that we offer and that speed of transactions and that speed of I/O. So, and the scalability. So a lot of blockchain does run on the IBM mainframe. Our public cloud blockchain solutions run on a mainframe underneath, and most of our corporate partners are putting their blockchain on a mainframe. So blockchain is a software concept that we could go into much more detail, but it is very interesting when you think of mainframes as old and legacy, but yet here's a hot new technology that runs almost in every case in production at large scale. It's running on a mainframe. So the large scale, the mainframe is used primarily for large scale organizations. It is cheaper to run on x86 servers or IBM Power technology if you are a smaller organization and you don't need that much computing. We do use it in our clouds. We have clients that use it as their cloud server because of the scalability. So cloud is another option that can run on x86 or can run on mainframes, and a lot of times it makes sense to run it on a mainframe. So it is better for a larger organization. Quantum computing goes back to my example of using the right technology for the right situation. So the question is quantum computing going to replace the mainframe? No. Just as x86 did not replace the mainframe, just as the mobile phone is not replacing laptops and servers, it is another tool. And it's a tool that is good for a very specific purpose. So a quantum computer is very expensive to run because it only operates at extremely cold temperatures. And just providing the refrigeration is very expensive. So it is never going to be portable, ever. And it's never going to be something you're going to want to keep in your own home. And it's something that those small businesses are probably not going to ever want to buy. But for certain applications where you need to do a lot of processing very, very quickly, it is very good. So it's going to be used as an augment of traditional computing. So the traditional computing will be the workhorse and get most everything done. And then when there's something that needs to be processed, calculated with a lot of calculations very quickly, it will be offloaded to the quantum. So it will be a part of that environment. Are mainframes used on services like cloud storage? Yes. We use the mainframe, not exclusively the mainframe. We use the mainframe as a part of our IBM cloud. So we have a public cloud that you can use today as a student for free. And in there are a lot of our cloud services are provided on an x86 platform because it is cheap. It is a commodity server. And we provide our premium cloud services on a mainframe, and a lot of our banking clients provide a private cloud inside their business to make it faster and easier to deploy applications. And a lot of times they will use the mainframe as that cloud because they need to provide this, the reliability and the security that only can happen on a mainframe. So again, it comes down to using the right tool for your specific situation. COBOL is not required for working on mainframes. So COBOL is still the largest share of code, production code in the world, is running in COBOL. And that's because, as I explained before, companies don't want to rewrite everything they've already written. And COBOL has been around for 60 years. So over those years, this repository of functioning code, operating code, has gotten bigger and bigger. Now, at some point, probably 20 years ago, 15 years ago, they stopped writing new applications in COBOL. So most of the time, the new applications are being written in newer languages like Java or even Python. But that old legacy code is still there and still the majority of what is running the world today. So I like to say that you should be multilingual, right? Just as speaking English versus Japanese or all of these other languages you could choose from makes you much more essential in the world. Being able to translate between people, being multilingual in programming languages means that you are much more essential to that business because you are able to translate what that COBOL application is doing and how to connect it to this new Java application doing artificial intelligence. Because that artificial intelligence is not working in isolation, right? It needs to access the data. It needs to access the transactions that are happening. And those things are happening in COBOL. So you need to be able to connect the two. If you really want to be a leader in technology, an innovator in technology, I do think that COBOL is a tool that will be useful to you. The roles of programmers with respect to mainframe. Every job that you can think of in IT, data analyst, security, systems administrator, there is a role with that exact same title in the mainframe space. It is just another server, but the job roles are still the job roles. right? So anything that you can think of that you want to do in terms of technology, there is a mainframe version of that. Are there any other manufacturers of mainframe computers? Okay, this is a great question. There were. There were lots of competitors in this space. And back in the 90s, the rumor was that the mainframe was going away because x86 was cheaper. And when you connect them together for distributed computing, you don't need a mainframe anymore. And this is very similar to the question about quantum computing. There's this new thing called quantum computing. Doesn't that mean x86 is going away? But that's not the way technology works, right? New tools have different strengths and weaknesses. So you do not need to think about it going away or being dismissed, right? And these other manufacturers gave up on that technology when that was the general concept. And only IBM stayed in the game and continued to innovate. And so we're basically the last man standing. That's probably the best way to describe it. Does mainframe have a pay-as-you-go model as it is in cloud? Yes, we do, especially with our Linux. We have a version of the mainframe that is built specifically for Linux, and that platform does have a pay-as-you-go. It's a rental option. All right, so that's all of the questions.
Yeah, so I have a question, ma'am, from my side. That is, with the introduction of 5G, what will be the effect on mainframe computing? Because there will be a lot of data. I mean, several thousand, I mean, thousand times more data will be there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what will be the situation?
I think that's a very insightful question. And you know what? You're the first person to ask me that question. I get asked a lot about the effects of quantum on mainframe, the effects of cloud on mainframe, but you're the first person to ask about 5G. I think it's similar to the effects of Internet of Things. We found that with the introduction of IoT devices, the demands on the mainframe actually grew because they really needed that back-end server to manage that data. And 5G is just going to further compound that. It's very interesting that during the pandemic, sales of most information technology, especially hardware, has gone down. And in IBM, the only hardware platform that has continued to sell well and grow was mainframe. So during the pandemic, these companies had said, we can't afford to buy anything right now, but the one thing we need to spend money on is buying a new mainframe. I think that tells you how hot this technology is right now. This is an amazing time for mainframe technology with the increased focus on security, and nobody can beat our security, and the increased demands for IO, and nobody can beat our IO. And the increased demands for transaction throughput. And that's what we were built for. So it's a very exciting time for Joydeep and I. Joydeep has been very busy, he was telling me, because there's so much demand for this right now. Great. Oh, there's a new question. The future of mainframe computing. I think the future is what you make it. It's a very exciting time. I see the mainframe as a tool with unique capabilities that no other platform can do. I don't think it's the answer to everything that we have before us in technology. But certainly what it is good at is exactly what people are looking for right now. And so the future is very exciting, and I can't wait to see the innovations that you all do when you look at what this tool is capable of accomplishing, right? When you have security and 100% encryption at your fingertips, when you have scale at your fingertips, when you have 5G combined with the transaction processing capable with this hardware, what will you do with it? What will you invent? That's what I can't wait to see. Great. Joydeep, I think you were going to do a little bit of talking now, right?
Yeah, thanks, Misty. Thanks for kicking it off. And I was also listening very intently your talk. Yeah. And one of the things which probably one of the questions came up is, is COBOL essential for mainframe? And while we were answering the question, one project came to my mind, and this was the client is a bank. It's a very renowned bank in having operations in UK and in Asia Pacific. Uh, so they have their, every organization, when you are a large organization, you have to have your ledger up to date, right? And there are different transactions in different business areas in different countries, and every unit has to be rolled up. And they have this wonderful system written on assembler. It was not COBOL, huh? It was assembler. And the whole idea is now they want a visibility of their an analysis of their ledger. And so we wrote a program for them on Scala on mainframe. So I mean, you have to choose the right tool for the job. For analytics, you need to have a program like Python or Scala to do it. And does mainframe run it? Of course, it runs it. So what I will do is I will take up from where Misty has left, and I will give some concepts, and then I will talk of what type of work we are doing with our clients, and probably that will give you some idea of what type of work you will be doing if you are in this technology, right? And it is like Misty made a very important statement, and that is a real differentiator for all of you. You have to be multilingual because we have too many people who knows Java and does not know .NET. Now, an enterprise does not have only all its application written in Java, right? It doesn't happen. So if you know .NET and Java, you can understand what the two applications are doing. It is simple concept, right? Now, every large enterprise, and when I say large enterprise, uh, you have a wide presence of them in India. The names may be, of organizations which are multinational, but they all have offices in India. They all do businesses in India, and they require resources to support their mainframe systems in India. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're thinking from the job perspective, because whether it is when I say Walmart, you don't think of okay, Walmart is in US, and what does Walmart do? They don't even have a shop in India, right? I mean, you cannot walk to a Walmart store in India, but Walmart has thousands of people working on the mainframe systems in India, right? So I'm just giving an example. Target, you have the Bank of America, you have Citibank, you have Barclays, you have Royal Bank of Scotland, you name it. Name any large Fortune 500 company, it has a presence here. Okay, and that is a wide job market. Uh, so let me just try to share if I can share my screen for a few minutes. And uh, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
sure.
okay, okay, good. So I will just quickly go through some certain things here. Misty has already covered it, but I do not know if she has covered this. That okay, you probably have already seen the answer. Doesn't matter much, you know. So the memory of Z15, 40 gigabyte, and and why that is very important. For some reason, it does not 40 not gigabyte. Sorry, terabyte. Why that is very important is we are doing some projects with our customer, and that is called grid computing, in memory grid computing. Okay, and this is to have a real-time analysis of their information. See, there is a lot of data flow, and let me differentiate this. What is data. Data is like saying that, okay, 20, you know, 20 does not make any sense, right? If you put a context on the 20 and say 20 degrees centigrade, okay, then it makes some sense. And if you have some more context on that, the 20 degrees centigrade is probably in India, Misty, not in US, probably a cool temperature to walk out, you know, and so you probably need a sweater or something. Then that is information, right? And we are in a world today where we have lot of data coming in. What if we can make a grid of information? And there is an Apache Ignite. So you can go and Google out Apache Ignite, and we are that and so with Apache Ignite, we are running the in-memory grid computing for many of our customers. And this is an open source mainframe project, and that makes perfect sense because most of the corporate data is in mainframe, right? And you have to understand the value of a data. Not all data has equal value, right? So, for example, and I give this example very often, so you might have heard it before if you have listened to me. Is if I have to know about you, I will not go and see whom you spend chatting in Facebook, right? Because that will give me some information about you, but that will not going to give lot of information about you. I will just go and see your telephone data. It will exactly give me where you live, which tower you spend the night in, which tower you go in the daytime. It will tell me which area you are living, which area you are working, with whom you are talking, right? And this data is a corporate data. It is a structured data. And this data is very valuable for me to see if I can use, how I can use you for telemarketing or something like that, right? That is one of the things. Misty has told about the qualities of service, and things like where how mainframe is useful in delivering certain amount of uh, large scale service, and 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 this is an example I gave. If you have to cook rice in a for the family, you probably have a small bowl and put water, put rice, and you drain out the water, and you have your rice. But if you have to cook rice for a marriage party, it is a totally different scenario. And what changed? The only thing what changed is, the you wrote an application for 4 people, and now you're writing an application for 400 people. That's the only thing which has changed. You wrote an application which can take 1 transactions per minute versus I'm taking an application which is running say 1,000 transactions per second. and and I cannot have 100 of these small bowls, and make a rice for 400 people. It is not just scalable. I have to have a different process, a different mindset, a different approach. And also, if if something happens to the rice, it gets burned, what is the risk? If you are doing it in your home, it is not much of a high risk. Yes, of course, the food got spoiled or something, but you can order from Zomato or Swiggy, or you can boil the rice a little bit more. It is controllable. But what if something gets happened on the other end? The risk is very high. So when you have this large scale enterprise system, you have to focus on containing the risk. The risk and security management is very high in the agenda. Okay. Another thing which probably is a very simple concept is today our CPU speed is increasing, right? And typically the mainframes run at 5 gigahertz. Our most of our computers run at 3 gigahertz, and I like the CPU speed of 3 gigahertz because it makes my math simple. And as you can see, the simple calculation done here, the fastest you know thing which can travel is light. We all know that. And at a 3 gigahertz, the distance traveled in one clock cycle, because if you are seeing computer science, everything goes by clock cycles, right? So the distance traveled in one clock cycle is 0.1 meter. So how do you think you can make the application faster? You just have them together. That is the only way to make applications run faster. The proximity, the bring two servers closer to each other. You can do this type of experiment at your own with a friend. You can write a simple MySQL program, a PHP MySQL program, be it a select from your own laptop to your own select database, MySQL database, or you can write it to a friend's laptop which is in the same LAN, and you will see the difference in performance. And now we come to an important concept, and this concept has come from Salesforce, one of the distinguished engineers in Salesforce, which is called a data gravity. And today we live in the world of data, right? And what it says is it is very difficult to move data. What we have to do is to bring applications to the point of data. That is why we have edge computing. Why do we do edge computing? Because we want to have the first applications to work on the data at the place it is being created. Okay, and so that we don't move tons of data. We have to limit movement of the data. So with 80% of the business data of the corporate world being on the mainframe, that's where the application should be. They should be on the mainframe, right? And that is where they are. And about 90% of the transactions. So remember, guys, you are making all these clicks and swipes in your mobile phone, Paytm, or you're making a RBI payment or any RTGS or any one of them. It is hitting at the mainframe at the back end. Okay, and it goes through about 90% of the world's financial transaction is through a mainframe. Okay, there is lot of different type of workload. Misty has already mentioned that HPC is a different type of computation. x86 does different type of computation. What NVIDIA graphics card do is a different type of computation, right? What mainframes are suited for is suited for data intensive, IO intensive computation. You have lot of transactions. So just let me give an example. Calculating taxes for the 1 billion Indians is not rocket science. There is a very simple algorithm to calculate taxes, but you have to do it for a large number of people for a large number of transactions. The PF entry and other entries and things like that. So when you have large amount of data and large amount of transactions, that is where this architecture, the computing architecture, is very suitable for. But if you are trying to do protein synthesis, for example, or earthquake prediction modeling, then the mainframe is not a suitable infrastructure for that, right? So we talked about the digital economy, and one of the things which Misty was saying about in the digital economy is, and she was stressing it repeatedly in her talk, was security. And that is because in the digital economy, I believe there are three things which is important. The clicks and swipes which you do in your cell phone results to transactions and engagement, right? That is a system of engagement. They result to a lot of data. And the data has to be analyzed to give you a better value of engagement. The ads which you see has to be more related to you, right? And that can only come from a better analysis, because everyone is trying to give you more better value. And because we are in a digital economy, we are liable to be hacked. Just imagine, wow, how much was the provision to be hacked if you are in the old world of where everything was by check or cash. That there's not much provisions to be hacked, right? Just because you are having you are in a digital economy, you are liable to be phished, and a lot of security breaches are liable to happen. So I do not know if this video will run and if you can hear it. Can you hear it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Are you able to hear it?
No, sir, there is no volume.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, his voice is audible, but video's
But
voice is not
slide
coming.
doesn't have any voice. I mean,
That
Okay.
is not having any audio. Yes.
Okay. So what it says is it has in 1 second. What happens in a second? There are different Tinder swipes, Facebook posts, Snapchats. So there is about 63,000 Google searches per second, right? And if I go, there are 71,000 YouTube videos per second. What happens in 1 second? And as Misty mentioned, if your YouTube video uh, pauses for some time, Earth is not going to crash, right? But then in 1 second we have how much of CICS transactions? Can anyone say? More than a million transactions per second, right? And 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 each transaction is important, because even if I'm not updating my account, if I'm suppose I'm just going to my bank and checking my bank account, I'm not even updating it, I'm just doing an inquiry transaction, and I expect in my bank account to there should be 10,000 rupees, let us say, and I see there is 10 rupees. Do you think I'll be a very happy customer? Okay, so even if it comes once and next time it gets updated, I will not be a very happy customer, right? Uh, so each one of these transactions has to happen in a very detailed mode. So anyway, so that was that video about, and Kix is one of the way we can do transactions. There is another transaction engine called IMS, which handles about 3 million transactions per second. And then there's another transaction engine called TPF, which handles, lot of transactions. I do not know exact volume of transactions per second, but that is a volume we are of transactions we're talking about. So guys, I just wanted to give this data, not for you to say that okay, there is 1 million transactions per second, but just for you to understand the volume which happens, and this is the volume which has to happen reliably no matter what happens, you know so that is the infrastructure, and that is it is a combination of hardware, and application. So one of the questions came up is why are we having such a outdated programs, or old programs? One of the commitment given, which Misty explained, is strict backward compatibility. Just like suppose it is something like that. Every time there's a new TV or something, or every time you want to change your curtain, do you have to change your house? You don't do that, right? So that these are major investment. So just imagine an organization who has written their payroll system, and they have put 200 people or for 2-3 years to write this payroll system. Okay, and then over last 10 years, say 10 people or 15 people have worked on the payroll system. Can you imagine just the labor cost of it? How much was the cost invested by the organization on it? Okay, how much of the knowledge is there in that application? Now that application is a valuable asset for the organization. They cannot just throw it away. What they would like to do is they would like to enhance it with one sec, something happened. They would like to enhance it with APIs, with DevOps, with analytics. They would like to do those things on that same application, and that is where we are seeing a lot of transactions with. For example, with another bank, I'm giving you most of my examples should be banks and governments and insurance companies and things like that. But a bank is using they merged. Okay, so one bank purchased another bank, and obviously now they have the same functionality, two applications doing it, right? So, and they're slightly different. So just imagine what we recently had, SBI and merged with the Bank of Bikaner, right? Few days ago. So Bank of Bikaner had certain different offerings, functionalities, which SBI did not have, and SBI had certain things which Bikaner did not have. Same thing happened. Now they want to move and merge them as one application. So they want one application. So the delta of this application they are now writing in Java. Okay, so Java, because this is a new development, but the original functionality is still remaining in COBOL. So again, the person who can work on that project is a person who knows COBOL and Java. Okay, so the unique skill is that is making your killer combination. A person who knows how to operate Python on a mainframe. We can have a lot of Python developers, but can you run Python on a mainframe? Because that is where the data is. That is where the data gravity is, right? So think from that perspective. Okay, I'll not go to the other parts of the presentation, but you can see that you can have Spark, Python, Jupyter Notebook, R, Anaconda. All of these are Scala. All of this happens, and this is the cost of a data breach. Uh, we have a client which is in US, a credit rating agency, who had a major data breach, and post that they moved their critical applications back to the mainframe. Okay, there is and this is good. This is public news. The second one you can just go and search for it. Google it out. British Airways. They had a data breach and they had a massive fine of, I do not remember exactly how much is the fine which they have to pay, but it is in some millions of dollars. Okay, so there are a lot of data privacy laws which is coming up, and Misty has talked about a very unique thing which is there from called data privacy passport, which means that, see, you will not, an organization will not just have mainframe. It will not have only Amazon. It will not have only Azure. An organization will have multiple clouds. You will have mainframe, you will have Amazon, you will have Azure, you will have your private x86 box, you will have a hybrid cloud infrastructure. And how can you manage data privacy and security in a hybrid cloud infrastructure? That is very important, right? And that is what data privacy passport helps you to do. So with this, I am more or less done. Misty, just mm, one thing which I will like to do before I uh, hand it back to you. I would like to mention that, how do I pause the sharing? Oh, okay, yeah. So who hires mainframe skill? I keep on getting that, right? Who hires mainframe skills? And I was explaining this to Misty yesterday. In India, what is the Indian market for mainframe skills, right? And there are two basic types of companies who are hiring mainframe skills. One is the service providers. So whether it is TCS or Wipro or Infosys, HCL, Sintel, every IBM itself, Accenture, HCL, NIT Technologies, you name it, L&T, ITC Infotech, they all hired mainframe skills. Okay, because there are a lot of, they serve to the customers and on the mainframe technology. The second type of people who hire mainframe skills in India are the development centers of large enterprises in India. So, for example, the ANZ Bank, okay, the DBS Bank, the Citibank, Barclays Bank, Walmart, Target, Wells Fargo, they all have a thesis. Okay, they all have uh, development centers in India. They hire mainframe skills along with Indian companies. For example, I do not know how many of you have HDFC bank account, but if you have a HDFC card, Every time you are using that HDFC card, it is going through HDFC, it is going through a mainframe, right? RBI uses mainframe. So many of our Indian companies, they have mainframes, and they have mainframe skills. Okay, so there is a wide demand of the mainframe skill. It is always a supply demand condition, and uh, traditionally people were looking for mainly traditional mainframe skills. That is no longer the case. People are looking because a new mainframe can run containers, can run Kubernetes, right? Can run I already talked of Python and other things. And suppose you have suddenly a new laptop which can run new things. What would you like to do? You like to have your existing system take advantage of the new things, right? Just imagine you have a Word document, and suddenly Word comes up with a feature of making something bold or making some text color. Won't you like to do that, right? So you have your existing applications, and you say, I have these existing applications, and I can now do my real-time analytics, anti-money laundering, fraud detection, terrorist funding, okay, suspicious activity reporting, right on the mainframe using my Python programming or Watson machine learning for Z. Okay, and this we can do right on the mainframe, and that and what is the skill required? Skill required is a person who knows Java or Python with who understands the mainframe data structure, right? Who understands the mainframe, other applications, how do they work, the COBOL and the other things. But they have to understand how the mainframe as a platform works. That is very important, right? So with this, I hope I have answered some questions or I've raised some questions in your mind. Both are equally good. Uh, and it will. The whole intention is to set your mind to a thought process so that you can be more open and receptive to new ideas, right? Because that is how growth happens. And I would like to hand it over to Misty for giving some introduction on master the mainframe context, which I'm very excited about personally.
Fantastic, Joydeep. I want to say that there's a question in here. So if we want to master the aspects of mainframe technology, where do we start? And I'm about to explain that right now. But there is, so thank you for that question. It's perfect. But there's another question, Joydeep, I think that you should be able to answer, which is, does the mainframe support parallel programming?
Okay, so let me take it in two parts. First of all, there is a parallel programming, right? And second is there is parallel development.
Mm.
Okay, and let me explain how does things work in an enterprise computing. Before I go to how things work in the enterprise level, okay, and this is nothing to do with mainframe. It is when you have large number of people working on together. Uh, I want you to remember to a code which you guys have written, either a lab assignment or something. Okay, and and I do not know if you have seen that code after a week or after a month, right? Could you understand how that code was working, or did you have to rake your brains to understand how your own program was running, right? So, so very often you have to understand that very often the program which you write does something, but then the knowledge of that is lost, right? And that is when you are writing your small, simple lab assignments or some projects or something like that, right? Now imagine we are writing a complex application where multiple people are coming and writing it together. And not only that, that application is in production, it is running, and it has problems, it has to be fixed. And while it is being fixed, you have to have enhancements being done to it because of some regulatory changes. Just imagine the simple regulatory changes which happened in COVID, where the government announced that the Provident Fund can be reduced from 12% to 10%, right? Something like that government announced, that contribution. And the organization has to change their codes to allow to that regulatory requirement. right? To meet with the regulatory requirement if they wanted to do that. So that requires for parallel development. And you need to have, I do not know how many of you are aware of DevOps, but if you are not aware of DevOps, if you are not aware of how Git works and Jenkins work and how Ansible works, that is something which you should all be aware of. I don't care what technology you are going to go in, but this is foundational knowledge. Okay, and that is what mainframe is. Most of the mainframe codes were not in depth, not in Jenkins, and things like that. They were in a very traditional uh, source control management system, SCM system, and that is now changing. And there are multiple products, and the DevOps in the mainframe is a big traction area. What I'm seeing with my clients, because that is what brings in agility. That is brings that the business today requires faster increase to change, right? So once you have DevOps, you can bring in much more speed to your enhancements and changes to your mainframe applications and to any other applications. It is not only mainframe, because you have to understand that application is not siloed. That my application is only in mainframe. I have the application mainframe, I have an API, and that API connects to a mobile application, which enables my customer to integrate with another vendor, right? So that is how the whole ecosystem is working. Okay.
Great. All right. So I see there's one other question from someone who is joining late. And I can tell you that this is being recorded. And Minaj, that recording is going to be available, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, I recommend you watch the recording, because now we're going to talk about, hopefully you are very excited about mainframe technology and you want to learn more, and you'd like to earn the credentials that will get you one of those high paying, rewarding jobs. So that is the purpose of Master the Mainframe. This is a contest for students, and we created it 16 years ago because our clients struggled to find students with the skills that they were looking for. And the first job of this contest is awareness, just what we did with you today, making you aware that these jobs are there. So when you see them listed, you know the opportunity that's being presented to you. And so the first thing we try to accomplish is awareness. And then we try to help you build those introductory skills so that you can speak the language and you understand a little bit of what you're doing. But I want to stress that since mainframe technology is not one thing, like Java programming is one thing, and understanding Docker is one thing, mainframe programming is all of IT, but on a different server. And so you will not be expected to know everything about mainframes. It is a very, very big space. And every employer, when they hire you, are expecting to train you. You will be taught how to do this. So, Master the Mainframe focuses on giving you that foundational knowledge so that when you step into that job, you are ready to learn. Okay? And we've structured it in 3 different levels. I'll talk to you a little bit about what those levels are. And this year, we are focusing on the new technologies in the mainframe space, the open source technology in the mainframe space. And as always, we issue these badges. These are official credentials. It certifies that you have learned a certain set of knowledge. And I will talk about those badges, but the most important thing you need to understand is that employers regularly take those badges and actually look for candidates with those badges. The level 3 badge, the last badge that you can earn in particular, employers actively search, and I know of several large companies that go down the list of everyone in their country that has earned that level 3 badge, and they contact them and they say, would you please apply for my internship or my entry level position? So earning this badge is not a guarantee that you're going to get the job, but it certainly opens doors in a major, major way. And for students, for you all that are enrolled in an academic program, you are eligible for prizes. However, this content is so interesting and valuable, and those badges are so valuable for opening doors and getting new opportunities. We found a lot of people that were not students. They're in a distributed computing career, or they're in finance and not in technology at all. They wanted to do these challenges. They wanted to earn these badges. So we do make a full copy of this entire system available for those regular learners, for those non-student learners. And the content is so good and so valuable. Many employers use Master the Mainframe as the first learning activity you will be required to do when you start the job in their companies. So we have employers
Misty,
that put their entire companies through this. Yes.
Misty, just interrupting you, I would like to stress on this. In our company, we encourage all new joinees who have come into our system to go through this master dimension learning system. So, so I just wanted to collaborate on what you're saying. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it is. It is very, very popular for employers, including IBM, and the education opportunities are tremendous. But even more so this year with the new technologies that we've incorporated. I've received messages. The contest has only been available for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I've already received lots of messages from people with many years of experience with mainframe technology telling me that they're doing it this year because they want to learn this new stuff. So when you finish Master the Mainframe and you get hired by one of these companies, you could be the person teaching someone with 25 or 30 years of experience, and you're teaching them um, based on what we've included in this. So we've already talked about why mainframes. So in 2019, we had over 25,000 registrations, people from 154 countries, and was significant growth last year. And we're looking forward to even more growth this year. We had over 4,000 schools participating. And we started something last year that we're continuing this year, um, which is for every student that finishes level 1, we are making a donation to the UN World Food Program. So we fed over 7,000 children last year, and we're well on our way to significantly exceeding that number this year. So whether you're interested in earning your mainframe badges or not, I encourage you to register and at least do level 1 and feed 2 children. The way the winners are structured is we have 12 winners around the world, 2 from each geography. And of those 12 winners, we select the top 3 in the world. So these final winners, the final project is something that is a creative project. And so that final project is judged by a panel of judges. A lot of the students have found this to be very interesting. And Brian Zhao said, the contest changed the way I looked at mainframes. It gave me a glimpse of the future of enterprise computing. So how does this work? So the contest opens September 14th, and you can start at any time. That final project has to be submitted by January 17th. So it closes January 17th when we start the judging. The learning system for people who are not students, it's available year round, right? Until next year's version is made available. So any academic student age 13 and up, we have structured the contest so that level 1 at the very least can be done by anyone. So if you know of students that are not at university that are younger and you want to give them an introduction to technology in general, this is a great way to do that. You can point them to Master the Mainframe. They can go through level 1, learn about computers, technology, mainframes, and at the same time feed 2 children for a day. And since it's completely virtual, you can do this from anywhere, anytime. Avishek Sen is a high school student that was a winner in India. So we do have high school students as well as university students competing. And with mainframe computing, it's new for everyone. So we find that we have a fairly level playing field. And out of the 12 winners in 2019, 2 of them were high school students. And he says it was an experience far apart from what he ever dreamt of. It was a mixed delicacy of gaining knowledge, getting support with a purely different horizon of computing. So we have a very strong community around Master the Mainframe, not just people in IBM, but past participants and educators like Manoj will volunteer their time to answer questions in the chat and to help make sure that you are successful. So it is structured in 3 basic levels, and I'm going to go into more detail in a minute, but in general, level 1 is meant to be very introductory. If you can follow the directions, you can finish level 1, and it only takes about an hour to 2 hours. Level 2, perfect your skills. This is where we teach you something, and then you have to accomplish that independently on your own. So it is much more about learning new skills, and we try to give you a variety of topics in the mainframe space in level 2, and that can take people who are very fast will finish in 10 hours, and others will take 20 to 30 hours to finish level 2, all of the challenges in level 2. Level 3 is apply your skills, and level 3 is really unique in the world of IT contests in that we do not teach you everything you need to know in level 3. We teach you some, and then we point you to the user manual and we give you the challenge. And so it's very real world. This is what it's like to work in industry. You are not given hands-on work that you've already been taught how to do, right? You are given a job to do and you need to figure it out. And that's why that level 3 badge is so valuable to employers, because it indicates not just that you know mainframe technologies, it indicates who you are as a person and what you as an individual are capable of beyond other students. So not everyone is able to get through level 3. It is hard, but the ones that do finish level 3 have proven themselves to be independent thinkers, creative, and able to solve problems. And that is what employers are looking for in employees, much more than the individual skills that you put on your resume. Those skills change over time, right? But being able to solve problems on your own by figuring it out is a unique skill that is very hard to show on a resume, but this badge proves that you are someone that can do that. And the final challenge is graded by judges, and this year we decided to give you free rein to be creative. So let's go into these levels in a little more detail. In level 1, it is very clearly defined what you need to do. Type this here, click there. If you follow the directions, you will be able to complete level 1. That is why it is so good for students that are not used to technology. And this year, what you're doing in level 1 is installing and learning to use VS Code. VS Code is an IDE, an integrated developer environment, that is very common in the industry. It's very popular. This is not mainframe specific. So this is a skill you will be able to use in any technology that you're working with if you're writing code. You're going to use VS Code to log on to a real mainframe. We have I don't know how many millions of dollars this machine is worth, 15 million, something like that. This machine is available in Dallas, Texas, and you will be logging on to that real mainframe. And you will be exploring around and learning how to navigate that environment. At the end of level 1, you will be answering a quiz. So it's not too hard, but it will be interesting. And at the end, we will be donating to share the meal for every student that finishes. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. I wasn't given a limit for how many donations. So this is IBM money you are giving away to the UN World Food Program. And we have no limit. So if we have 25,000 students finishing level 1, we're feeding 50,000 children. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's have thousands of people finish level 1 and give away lots and lots of IBM money. So level 2, this is really structured more what you're used to in an academic setting, where we teach you the concepts, and then we give you an assignment of doing exactly what you were just taught. So you are doing it independently. It's structured much more like a hands-on homework assignment. In level 2, you'll be learning Python, you'll be learning Unix, you'll be learning JCL, which is a traditional way of managing work on a mainframe. You'll be learning bash scripts. So most of this, as you can see, is not mainframe specific, but you will be learning these skills in a mainframe environment. So you'll be learning skills that are valuable across the entire industry. And Z Open Automation Utilities is a brand new open source product that even mainframers don't know yet, and you will be learning it here first. So this is a way of automating what you have going on in the mainframe space, and it's open source, so you'll be getting into that open source environment. At the end of level 2, you will get that badge. And you'll also be invited to exclusive online, completely virtual career development communities and opportunities. Only people who have earned this badge are invited to these exclusive events that are meant to give you not just technical skills, but also those soft skills and those career application opportunities and connections to employers that want to engage with you because you have this badge. They want to be visible to you. They want you to apply to their jobs. And so we're able to bring them to these unique events that are only available to those people that have earned this level 2 badge. And at the end of the contest, we'll be doing a random drawing to see which of these level 2 finishers will be winning $500. So level 3, as I said, is putting it all together, is doing it on your own. We will continue to teach you these new concepts, and you will be asked to put those concepts together and to figure out the solution to the problem. And the concepts that you'll be adding to your resume are Linux, Rex, which is a scripting language specific for the mainframe, which is actually very easy and a lot of fun. COBOL, as we already explained, is the largest share of programming code. You will not be a COBOL expert, but you will be able to speak COBOL. You will be able to read COBOL, and so you will be beginning to build your multilingual abilities. Ansible is a hot new technology, and it is brand new to the mainframe space. And this is one of the things that professional mainframers are interested in doing this contest this year for. They want to learn Ansible. And more of Zoe, which is an open source project that came out of the Linux Foundation to make the mainframe data set accessible to more open source technologies across the IT spectrum. So you will build really valuable skills that are traditional in the mainframe space, modern in the mainframe space, and also skills that are available across the entire IT spectrum. And as I said, the creative final challenge, which will be reviewed by a panel of judges. And we are finding high profile people to be these judges, and there'll be a panel just for the India region, and those judges will be reading your project. And new this year, we are asking you to not just develop your application, but to write a 2-page description of what you wrote and why it matters. And that is yet another really valuable skill for your future. Fabulous ideas are nothing until you convince somebody else that it's a fabulous idea. And so this is what you're learning with this final challenge. Not just to come up with something really amazing, but also to convince a panel of top tier technology experts that what you came up with is important and valuable. So that is the Creative Final Challenge. Everyone who finishes level 3 will get that level 3 badge. That level 3 badge is extremely valuable, and everyone in the mainframe industry and in IT in general, if they've ever heard of this contest, know what it took to get that badge. And it garners you a lot of respect. So that badge can be earned whether your final project is any good or not, right? If you complete all of the challenges and you submit something for that final project, you will earn that level 3 badge. So everyone who finishes all of the challenges gets that badge. It is a significant accomplishment, and as such, I decided to make sure every level 3 finisher gets a t-shirt that very clearly says on it, I finished level 3 of Master the Mainframe, so that when you go to events where there are mainframers and they see that shirt, they know the quality of person that you are. That shirt will clearly declare it's a humble brag, to be honest, so that you don't have to go around saying, I'm a level 3 finisher. You can just wear the shirt and they'll all know that you're somebody who's really impressive. So please join me in inviting as many people as you can to finish at least level 1, and let's feed lots and lots of children. So just a quick preview of how we've structured the challenges this year. We have a new format that's very fun and exciting. These are challenge cards. So each card gives you these step-by-step instructions with screenshots and graphics. Each card will tell you how many steps and how many minutes, an overview of the challenge, pointers to more information. It makes it so much easier to follow. And in the top here is a little code so that you can keep track of where you are. We have a new platform that monitors your progress as you go and gives you an update instantly of whether or not you accomplished that particular challenge successfully or not. So I hope that you join us this year. Master the Mainframe is very exciting this year. We have so many people participating, and it's just going to be bigger and better than ever. Any questions? Oh, we have somebody who's finished 2020 already and had an amazing experience. Okay, so you don't like the freeform final challenge. You want something more specific. So Prajal, I would love it if you sent me this comment in the MTM Slack so I can share it with Jeff Bisty, who is our content designer. And I think your feedback is really interesting and valuable. Great. All right. How many people are going to do it? Register right now. I will put it in the chat because I just realized you can't click on the links in my presentation. It's masterthemainframe.com. If you go to this website, you can click on get started, and you can register for an IBM ID and get into the new Master the Mainframe Hub where all of the challenges are presented. Someone who is completely new to coding can do this for sure. We have structured it with that in mind. Someone who has a lot of talent will be able to get all the way through level 3. We have had students do that. Um, there was an interesting thing that happened in England last year. A little story. There were students that were fans of Master the Mainframe, saw the Share the Meal donation, and decided to host an event on campus for students. And there were art majors, English majors, history majors that came to this event only to donate to the UN World Food Program. And there was a girl that went to that event who had never programmed anything in her life and thought she was not, I'm not technical, right? That's just not who I am. But she went because she cared about the children. She finished level 1 in that event and then continued to do level 2 and was really surprised at how much she enjoyed programming. And she's already through half of level 3 this year. So she's come back. Not only did she earn her level 2 badge last year, but she came back this year and she's in the first 2 weeks already almost done with everything. So it's definitely accessible to those students that have never programmed. And in fact, I think it's a great way to help them figuring out whether or not it's something they want to learn. So, any other questions? I do believe we're at the end of our time, right? So I will finish by saying I am available on LinkedIn. When you register for Master the Mainframe, you will be invited to the Master the Mainframe Slack, the MTM Slack. I'm available there as well. I do answer your messages. I want to make sure that you are enjoying this and that you benefit personally and are able to connect to jobs and opportunities. So feel free to contact me. I will tell you though, I am not the best person to ask your technical questions. I always pass those off to the technical team. Why is my program not running? I won't answer those. But when you say, how do I update my resume, right? How do I make sure employers see my badge? That I can help you with.
So just one thing, probably Misty you mentioned about LinkedIn. All of you should be having a LinkedIn profile. And when you complete this part two or something, post it in. It is something you are entitled to brag about. So post your that I have completed part two or I have registered for the master mainframe. And that is a good way to let people know that you have done something.
That's a great point, Joydeep, and something that I offer is if you earn a Master of the Mainframe badge, or if you post something about I'm doing Master of the Mainframe and I'm really enjoying it, I like to make sure that that is visible to the mainframe community, that they know which students are doing this and your experience. So tag me in it and I reshare that to my LinkedIn feed. I have thousands of mainframers that follow me because they want to engage with students. They want to connect with you and they'd like to hire you. So please feel free to send me those successes and let me advertise them for you. There are no prerequisites to apply for Master the Mainframe. Anyone can do it. If you are a student at an accredited academic institution, which most of you would be because you're going to RCC IIT, then you will automatically be put into the contest and you will be eligible for prizes. What are the career opportunities in mainframe CICS development after completing the competition? There are career opportunities across the board. Joydeep, do you know, is there CICS development in India?
Yes, CSS is the most common platform for transaction management in the mainframe. So there's a lot of demand for CSS developers.
Probably Chandu is Parthi finisher last time.
Yeah,
Oh, great.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you all today. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
yes,
ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for I think some wonderful sessions actually, and also Joydeep Banerjee, because many of our I think doubts, I think when especially the students' doubts got cleared, and it's an I believe it's an exciting competition, and not only that, I think students will not only gain knowledge but actually they can enhance their careers. Actually, their career path can get enhanced. And you know what we believe, and because I still see the 394 and I mean close to 400 student, I mean participants, mostly students, they are still there. And so this program, I think this mastering the mainframe has a real impact within students, circles. So I think more and more students of the university and our other colleges will be participating. And what we expect that our students, they can, not only, go into the competition, but they can contribute. Actually, they in developing the mainframe computing, and that will be an exciting one. And I also want to say that within the university, as well as its affiliated college, actually, we have got a lot of bright students, not only bright, and they are very much capable. Only thing is they are not utilizing their potential, and it is I'm very much thankful to IBM, that IBM is giving such opportunity for the students to develop themselves and to get into the the activities of developing their career. And that is very, very wonderful thing. So I have most sincere thanks to both of you, and to IBM as an organization. And our honorable vice chancellor, I think he is busy with meeting, uh, and now I would request our Professor Manos Ghosh to give the vote of thanks. And this is only the starting. And I think in future, we will be very happy if you, both of you can, and along with your colleagues also, if you can come along in some, in future, webinars I think, enlighten us and as well as our students, on, topics related to computers. See, these mainframe computers, if I can remember, once upon a time it was in the forefront, and now these many more gadgets came up, including laptops, then desktop, then your these mobiles, tabs, so many things, and ultimately mainframes are working in the background, and they are more powerfully working, and not only that, they are providing very, very, I think, better career opportunities for youngsters. And with wishing a very bright future for all the participants who are watching it, and with most sincere thanks to Misty as well as Jaideep, I would request our Professor Manus Ghosh to give the formal vote of thanks on behalf of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology and RCC IIT.
Sir, you are the right person, sir. I am not the right
So,
person for that.
No, no, okay, but
You
so,
are
I
the
cannot
right
remember
person,
all
sir.
the names, all the people,
so,
that's the thing. Only almost I have given thanks. Okay, I have already expressed sincere thanks, but the details actually you have to work out. You are the right person. You are the
so,
person who is working from behind. Yes, Jaideep sir, are you
yeah,
saying
so,
anything?
yeah, so Misty, I just wanted to bring an anecdote. The college is RCC IIT, right? Now, what does RCC stand for? It is stands for actually historically this is Regional Computer Center. Okay, and this was the regional. This institute was set up, I mean, decades ago as the Eastern Region Computer Center. So in India, there we had 4 or 5 regions. Each region had a computer only. Okay, and so that it is to serve for the Eastern region, and that is when computing was very expensive and it was very limited, right? So and then of course with distributed computing, that functionality went away and it went as a education center. So it was not the genesis of this institute RCCIT was as a regional computer
Yeah,
center.
that's true. And another fact I would say that RCC, that Regional Computer Center, it started in Jadavpur University, Kolkata, and you know in the I learned the computer programming when I was student that time, that year it was started. I also got my learning. I mean first introduction to computer programming, Fort and Fort, in RCCIT. Sorry, not RCC, not
RCC,
IIT. That time
yes,
it was
RCC.
RCC, Regional Computer Center. So myself and another of my friends, actually, Surendra Patnaik, uh, both of us actually got into that program, which was being offered for professionals, because they said, no, we are not offering it for the students. Then two of us actually went there and said, requested. Then they uh, said, yes, let us see. We'll, I mean, forward your application to our authorities. If they give special permission, then we can include you. So they included, and two of us actually became the first learner in our regional computer center. It was Bado 6800. So it started with Bado 6800. So RCC IIT, that actually afterwards that organization became an institution, full-fledged institution, engineering institution, that is RCC IIT, and it came out of this Jadavpur University campus of Kolkata, and it has its own campus now. And it has also come a long way, and creating history, okay, in a different way. So, okay, that's a interesting part of it.
So, from my part, and that means on my behalf and from Makaut as well as RCCIT. So I would like to thanks Misty and as well as Jadipda for coming over here, and as well as this wonderful session. And I would like to request all the students to participate, master the mainframe, finish it up, and will be in a great position, because last year as far as I know, we were the second country in the world after Brazil. So we would be very, that means we all would be very happy if you could do this wonder, and we may become the first country in the world uh, through this master the mainframe contest. I would definitely thank to Vice Chancellor sir, and especially Shivamay sir, Dr. Das Gupta, because he's the main person behind this webinar, and all the webinar team, and also Prem Kumar, who is just controlling the webinar behind the, and so that's all. And I would also thank to all the participants for being with us, as for as well as for their patience. Okay, that's all, sir. Dasgupta sir, it is handed over